And polls are closing across New York State. But tonight, our marquee matchup isn't national, it's local. 4 candidates facing off in the race to replace Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh. My conversation with him is coming up straight ahead, and we'll have live team coverage tonight from across the Salt City. Plus, the battle for the Big Apple that's captivated the nation. We're live at Zohran Mamdani's watch party in Brooklyn straight ahead, and we'll have all the latest numbers for you throughout the night. And Trump tested 1 year after the 45th president became the 47th. How do voters feel about his time in office so far? We have a winner in one of the 2 big governor's races we're watching tonight. That breaking news is coming up very soon. There are so many surprises and special guests in store for all of you tonight as the results roll in. So don't go anywhere, because election night starts right now. And good evening from the campus of Syracuse University. I'm Luke Radel, coming to you live from the CitrusTV studio at the corner of Waverly and Comstock Avenues, where our entire newsroom is here to bring you minute-by-minute results from cities big and small across America. You'll start to see those numbers updating along the bottom of your screen in a moment, and our all-star analysts will join me to break down the top ticket races. We're going to start, though, right here at home with the Syracuse mayoral election, where, for the first time in 8 years, voters will get to send someone new to City Hall. So, to quote a notable SU grad, it's a big effing deal, which is why we're doing things a little differently tonight. We've sent our best reporters and anchors out of the studio and into the field. Anjana Dasam and Jackson Breslin are live for us tonight at the Treasury Building, where Democrat Sharon Owens and her supporters are standing by for the first numbers to come in. Meanwhile, Ben Bascuk and Maura Vaughn are about a mile away at Strata Mia on North Geddes Street here in Syracuse with the GOP nominee Thomas Babylon and other Onondaga County Republicans. But we begin our coverage, as we do every year, right here on campus at Huntington Hall, the polling place for SU students. That's where our reporter Sophia DiStasso is live for us tonight. Sophia, what has the turnout been like throughout the day so far?
Yeah, that's right, Luke. So I'm here at Huntington Hall, which is one of the main places in Syracuse to vote. It starts the polls just closed at 9 p.m. As you can see behind me, they are packing it up. But earlier today, it was pretty busy as the Syracuse Government Association hosted their first stroll to the polls. What started small.
So at first it was a small initiative that was SU Votes Local. We were just going to table at Shine.
Got bigger.
But we realized that people wanted to go together and express their care for the city and what's going on in the city together.
That realization led SGA Vice President of Community and Government Affairs, Kenneth Latterman, to create a new way to encourage student voters.
It was important to us that we not only set the precedent that we are in civic engagement, and we do participate in it, and we do care about what's going on in local elections, but also that students know what's going on.
For second-time voter and active participant in SGA, Kennedy King, that message hits hard.
And just because we spent 4 years in another state doesn't mean that that right goes away, you know? So while I'm here, I would like to vote in the Syracuse elections because this is my home for now.
Latterman says that the connection between students and the city is exactly what the initiative is about.
Syracuse University is its own small world. However, the decisions made by elected officials heavily affect what happens on the air.
The Syracuse Government Association hopes to do more events like these to get students more involved. I'm Sophia DiStasso for CitrusTV News. Back to you guys in studio.
Thank you very much for that reporting. So good to see students getting out to vote. We're going to turn now to the Sharon Owens watch party at the Treasury Building, where we find our field anchor Anjana Dasam. Anjana, what's the mood like in the room there so far? Polls just closed, right?
Thanks, Luke. Well, welcome to Sharon Owens' watch party. As you can see right now, the crowd is huge. You know, energy is really high right now. We have members from various nonprofits like Bascuk, Driscoll, but overall, people are dancing, they're hitting on stickers, hitting on wristbands, but everyone seems to have a really good time right now. Right now, I'm joined by reporter Jackson Breslin. Jackson, what did you think coming into tonight?
Yeah, celebration by Earth, Wind, and Fire. And that's really what this watch party feels like. It feels like a celebration of a campaign that has really been dominant since Sharon Owens first announced her candidacy for mayor back in September of 2024. In almost every metric she's been in the lead, and one of those metrics that we're going to take a look at right now is the campaign fundraising. Since she announced her candidacy, Sharon Owens has raised more than $400,000 more than the next closest opponent, that's Thomas Babylon, with about $20,000. And Tim Rudd is behind him at about $5,000. Alfonso Davis has not announced any of his fundraising totals, but the only two that were close to Sharon Owens was in the Democratic primary, and those are common councilors Joel Machoke and Pat Hogan. We'll talk a little about more of those later on tonight.
Yeah, and another thing is Owens has picked up many notable endorsements. Some of them include Governor Kathy Hochul, who endorsed her this weekend, SC grad to SC grad, another Attorney General Letitia James, and of course, outgoing Mayor Matt Wilson. She's worked with as deputy mayor for the past 8 years, so it'll really be a test of to see how well she can distinguish herself from the Walsh administration. And we also spoke with Congressman John Mannion tonight, who spoke a lot about how he really enjoyed working with her and hopes to continue to work with her, as we see the results come in.
But for all of those notable endorsements, there are a few local ones that Sharon Owens has not picked up, and those are those common councilors that we were talking about, Joel Machoke and Pat Hogan, who ran against her in the Democratic primary. Neither of those have endorsed her. When he conceded back over the summer, Joel Machoke said about issues like truancy, he said that children are worse off now than they were 8 years ago, and he said back then it was atrocious. So he sees Sharon Owens as someone who is too closely connected with a Ben Walsh administration that just hasn't done enough for Syracuse.
Yeah, and I spoke with Pat Hogan over a year ago when he announced his candidacy for mayor, and he said that his experience as county councilor, especially with housing, I thought were really important in Syracuse. I think they're not leg up, but he wrote his name on the ballot, so we'll see what happens tonight. But right now the celebration is here. We'll send it back over to the studio as we have updates later throughout the day.
Anjana and Jackson, thank you so much. Certainly a lively party happening there. We're going to try and sort out some audio issues when we go back to them later in the night. We're going to turn now, though, to Strada Mia Italian Restaurant on North Geddes Street, the Republican headquarters this evening. It's where we find our Maura Vaughn and Ben Bascuk tonight. Guys, what's the mood like there at Strada Mia?
But they got you in a closet back there.
Hi guys,
I don't think they realize.
Hi guys, right now we're at Strada Mia here for the Republican Watch Party. The party's actually happening upstairs. We had a chance to mingle with some of the candidates, and the general vibe of the night, to put it in Bonke Sakurori's words, is don't dance before the music. I mean, the vibes are good, people are smiling, people are laughing, but there is some skepticism over this mayoral race, especially considering that Democratic enrollment advantage.
Yeah, we actually haven't had a Republican mayor in this race since 1997, so the fact that this could be changing tonight, it could be an interesting look. I mean, the registered voters in Onondaga County that are Republican is 27%. Babylon said it himself. They are the underdogs in this situation, but they just remain optimistic.
Yeah, and it's not to say that all hope is lost, but we should put it in the words of the man himself. Tom, do you have a quick second?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Sorry to summon you here from the corner of the room, but yeah, we're live for CitrusTV right now. How are you feeling going into tonight, especially considering that enrollment disadvantage when it comes to the Democrats?
Listen, I feel great. I've got an incredible amount of Democratic support. We had 40% of Democrats not vote for Sharon Owens. And one of the things that a very prominent Democrat told me, she noticed that the people that had Joel Machoke and Pat Hogan signs do not have Sharon Owens signs in their yard. So that means that there's 40% of the Democrats that are up to looking for somebody else, and I know a lot of them are going to vote for me. So I'm not really concerned with the higher, Democratic ratio, because I plan on getting a lot of those Democratic votes tonight.
I want to ask you kind of your feelings about the county legislator races here in Onondaga County. How are you feeling, especially about those contested districts, about 9, about 5, and about 8?
I mean, they're going to play out how they're going to play out. I've been campaigning with Sean quite a bit. I feel good about their races as well, but we'll find out. We'll find out when the numbers come in.
Any message to those voters, Republicans, who have their eyes kind of glued to the polls tonight, a little worried? Any message to them? I'm
not worried at all. We ran a great campaign, and we put everything into it that we had. So I literally have like $50 left in my campaign account. So we put it all out there, and the chips are going to fall how they fall tonight. I'm optimistic that we're going to win.
Awesome. Thank you so much
you
for
so
hopping
much.
on with
problem.
us.
Yep,
Thank
no
you,
problem.
Tom. Well, we'll hop back on here in a couple of minutes here at the Republican Watch Party.
We'll be going over the county legislator race in a little bit more depth with the 8th district, the 5th, and a little bit more on the all 17. Stay with us.
Stay with us, guys.
Ben and Maura, thank you so much for that fun surprise. Sounds like $50 would be enough to buy a nice bottle of Italian wine at Strada Mia. I'll note that there are two other candidates running tonight in Syracuse. Tim Rudd and Alfonso Davis are going on independent lines. Mr. Davis did not share with us where he will be spending this evening, while Mr. Rudd says he'll be watching from home. Let's turn now to an historic Citrus TV race call in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We can project that Abigail Spanberger will win, returning the reliably blue Commonwealth to Democratic control. Spanberger is the first woman elected to the top job in Virginia that was widely expected to beat current Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, who served with Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin for the past 4 years, but was widely regarded as to his right. Spanberger highlighted her bipartisan record in Congress in addition to her years of experience as an intelligence analyst for the CIA. She'll take over the governor's mansion in Richmond in January as the 75th governor of the Commonwealth. Our Roman Verna will join us later tonight to break down how she won, but first, we're going to take our first quick break of the night, and when we come back, we'll have live results from New York City and a report from Brooklyn, where Zohran Mamdani's campaign is watching the results with a very special guest. Stay with us. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome to my house. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The walls were closing in. Clearly a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It could help you find a little more breathing room.
I'm in it to win it, and I urge everybody to come out and vote no matter who you're casting your vote for.
New Yorkers vote, I win. New Yorkers reject this socialism, reject division.
The world is changing. It's not a question of whether that change will come. It's a question of who will change it.
Welcome back to Citrus TV Election Night 2025. We're tracking the race tonight in New York City, the three-way race between Zohran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa, running there for what is regarded as the second biggest job in the state. We are joined now live by a very special guest. He is former Citrus TV alum, now working for News 12 in the Bronx. Our Mike Lamort is live in Brooklyn at Zohran Mamdani's watch party. There you are, Mike. How are we doing tonight? How is the mood in the room?
Hey, Luke, the atmosphere here is absolutely loud. This is primarily a younger voter population here. They're still filling in. Hundreds are coming in as the polls just close. And as I was mentioning, it is likely primarily young voters out here. One of the things that Mamdani has been able to do all campaign is speak to those young voters on Instagram, TikTok, to come out to the polls and vote for his name on the ballot. We know that he was an underdog when it came to the primaries. One outlet even calling him a relative unknown. But he was able to campaign through social media, earn his way to the ticket here for the Democratic Party. And now here we are after a long campaign season on election night.
President Trump yesterday posted a surprising endorsement of former Governor Andrew Cuomo. I want to show folks what he had to say about that earlier tonight. You can see coming up there shortly. He posted on Truth Social a rather lengthy post saying, if communist candidate Zohran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely I'll be contributing federal funds. He goes on to say that whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. What has that meant, Mike, for the dynamics in the final hours before this race?
Well, Luke, we know that all campaign, Donald Trump wasn't necessarily fond of Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa. Neither were many Republicans in the race. They didn't think that he was ready for prime time. And here we are on Election Day, President Trump telling Republicans to go vote for independent Andrew Cuomo. Will he have enough votes tonight to win over the Republican vote and punch his way to Gracie Mansion? We'll just have to see. But what I think this says about this election is that the Republicans are trying to take down Mamdani at all costs, to the point where they're calling on Republicans to vote for a Democrat. As we know, Andrew Cuomo really is a Democrat that lost during the primary, now here as an independent on the ballot. Well, we'll see if Cuomo is able to steal the votes, but with 38% of the vote in tonight, it is still looking tight, but Mamdani with a slight lead here.
Mike Lamort, thank you so much for joining us tonight live from Brooklyn. I'm joined now by one of our all-star analysts tonight, Peter Berry, who's going to be tracking the New York City mayoral race for us. Peter, thanks so much for being here.
I'm glad you're having me, Luke.
Happy to have you back on Citrus TV, brother. Appreciate you.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute. Talk to me a little bit about what we're seeing so far.
Well, Luke, I'm going to first start with a trivia question.
Ooh.
5 boroughs. When was the last time they were swept in a New York City mayoral election?
Was it? I mean, I'm trying to think of a time the city came together. Like 2001, November, Bloomberg, maybe?
You got to go back 40 years to 1985 with Ed Koch. He swept
the legend.
all 5 boroughs. I don't know if we're going to see that tonight, though. I think Mamdani will come out through with 4 or 5 boroughs. I think Siwa will probably win Staten Island. But another milestone we hit, 2 million voters all across New York City. That is the first time since 1969 during John Lindsay's re-election campaign. But I want to start off with how the heck we got here. Mamdani was polling at 1% back in February. As Mike alluded to, Mamdani has really reached out to the Gen Z voters. Cuomo's kind of gone more old school. But Mamdani has things working to his advantage. There's more than 3 million foreign-born New Yorkers in all across the 5 boroughs. Yeah. But I want to start off with Manhattan here.
Okay.
So Manhattan, we have Mamdani at 52%. This is the financial epicenter. Cuomo at 43%. This is where a lot of the billionaires are in their skyscrapers. There's a bunch of diversity. Whites, Hispanics, Latinos. You can think of anyone, any landmark, that's where it will be in the Big Apple. But I want to go up to the Bronx here, the home of the New York Yankees. I'm not a big fan of them. Mamdani is at 51%, while Cuomo is at 39%. And Siwa's kind of playing a little bit of the spoiler there at 8%. But I don't know how much Siwa will affect Cuomo in the long run. Let's take a look at Queens, Cuomo's home borough, with Mamdani at 48% and Cuomo at 39%. This is playing a big spoiler here at Siwa at 11%.
And you'd think if Siwa had dropped out and they had consolidated their votes for Cuomo, maybe you could have taken him down. Peter Berry, we're going to be following this race throughout the night. Thank you so much for being here with us right now. We're going to take a look at something I shot earlier today, an interview with Republican Congressman Mike Lawler. And joining me now is the Congressman for New York's 17th Congressional District, just north of New York City, Congressman Mike Lawler. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Luke.
So you've been talking a lot about this New York City mayoral race, and most recently you made some headlines for saying that former Governor Andrew Cuomo is the lesser of 2 evils in the race. What did you mean by that?
Well, when you look at the polling, consistently it showed that Cuomo was in second place behind Mamdani and had the best chance of upsetting him tonight. And so, you know, from my vantage point, this is very much about ensuring Zohran Mamdani does not become the mayor of New York City. I think his policies are disastrous. I've long been critical of Andrew Cuomo. Nobody would mistake me for a fan of his, and I haven't endorsed him. But it's a simple statement of fact that if the choice is between these 2 candidates, Cuomo is the lesser of the 2 evils.
You also been out on the campaign trail in New Jersey campaigning for Jack Ciattarelli. It looks like it might be a closer race there tonight. We're getting results in as the night goes on. Why have you supported Jack Ciattarelli over your current House colleague, Mikey Sherrill?
Well, listen, in 7 years in Congress, Mikey Sherrill hasn't done anything. She says that she wants to reduce the cost of living, yet she voted to increase federal spending by trillions of dollars. That's what gave us the record inflation, driving up the cost of living. She voted against the largest tax cut in American history, including lifting the cap on salt. She supported Joe Biden's open border policies, voted against the Lake and Riley Act. She has supported every disastrous energy policy, which has resulted in New Jersey seeing massive energy cost spikes all across the state.
Lieutenant Governor Delgado will be joining me later in the hour to react to the results. You decided not to run for governor of New York. Do you believe that Elise Stefanik is the best candidate to win statewide?
Well, we'll see what Elise announces in the coming weeks. You know, all indications are that she's going to run. I think she'll put forth a very strong campaign and really give New Yorkers a choice between Kathy Hochul, who is a disastrous accidental governor, who is significantly underwater, who has embraced Zohran Mamdani and the socialist agenda coming out of New York City. And I think Elise will present voters with a clear alternative.
Congressman Lawler, thank you so much for your time tonight and for joining us here on Citrus TV.
Thanks, Luke.
Well, you just heard from a congressional Republican. We're now going to head to a congressional Democrat standing by with our Anjana Dasam. That's a familiar face there, Anjana.
Well, listen, I'm a supporter of the deputy mayor. I think she's done a fantastic job as deputy mayor. She served our community for a very long time, and I know that she's going to take this city and this region even further on the upward trajectory that we're on. And of course, it's also a historic night, and I'm glad I get to be a part of.
And so if you're able to talk to us kind of more about what you specifically want to work with her on for the city of Syracuse and what you think is most important to work with her on.
Well, listen, we've got challenges around this country and certainly challenges here. The high concentration of poverty that we have, we always have to work on. We want safe communities and opportunity for everybody. That includes health care, it includes housing, it includes good jobs. So I know that those are a lot of her core values. That's what takes people out of poverty and helps them meet their American dream. That's my Syracuse story, and I know that she's been a big part of a lot of those stories already, and we're going to work together to make sure that those things happen.
So what do you kind of want to say to people who maybe aren't in support of her? What do you want them to know right now?
Well, listen, this is what the election process is. This is what democracy is, you know. People are going to get behind certain candidates, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. At the end of the day, you got to work together for the good of this country, the good of the community, and that's what, you know, I've done. I know Sharon Owens has done it. At the end of the day, what's best for everybody, work together, get it done. That's what I'm trying to do right now, and I know that's what she's going to do.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you so much for being here. All right, well, I'll talk us back to you in studio as we'll have more updates as the night continues.
Anjana, Congressman, thank you very much. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Election Night here on Citrus TV. I'm joined at the Magic Map by our Drew Matiasic, who's going to be following the Syracuse mayoral results throughout the night. We do have some early numbers in.
Yes, we do. Right now, Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens winning with about 75% of the vote right now, followed up shortly with Thomas Babylon with around 18%. Tim Rudd and Alfonso Davis behind. Timothy Rudd just kind of slowly inching up above Alfonso Davis. But right now, what I want to take a look at is the few districts that Tom Babylon is winning in right now. Right now, it looks like Sharon Owens is really taking a majority of the wards, and this is just early vote. No in-person vote yet, just mail-in and absentee votes that we're looking at right now.
Which, as far as we know, are supposed to tip towards the Democrats in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. Now we look at where Tom Babylon is winning right now in the first ward area here by Lincourt, over by the mall, NBT Bank Stadium. This is a place where Republicans really wanted to attack and go for. This is a place where they thought that they were going to have the best chance of winning the first ward, the fourth ward, the 7th ward, 13th ward, on and on. These outskirts of the city is where they wanted to go. Right now it's looking good in early voting for Tom Babylon, but a little bit better for Sharon Owens.
I'm just seeing a sea of blue, though. I mean, there are definitely some individual wards that we've been watching that Tom Babylon is performing decently well in, but I mean, once these day of totals come in, where does he really need to make up some ground?
He wants to make up some ground over here by Solvay. This is where the Republicans really wanted to get this 7th ward area that's bordering Solvay and Westville. Now, incumbent Mayor Ben Walsh did really, really well here back in 2021, really defeating all of his candidates around these outskirts, way here on the west side, up on the north side, maybe far, far on the east side. He's really going to want to focus in these areas.
Let's
right
take
now,
a closer look at that map as well, just so folks at home can see where exactly you're looking. Right near Solvay there on that, on that border.
Right near Solvay.
Is that 7th Ward, 2nd District? Is that what I'm
7th Ward right here. 2nd District, 1st District, all around here until it borders Westvale. This is where he wants to take initiative. Right now, Sharon Owens winning with around 60% of the vote in the 7th Ward, 76% in that one. We have no results. We have very limited results. It's currently tied in the 7th Ward, 1st District right now. So this area is where Tom Babylon's really going to want to go for. It's just also depending on who the spoiler candidates are going to be right now. So Tim Rudd and Alfonso Davis not really doing so well in these swing wards, these districts that the Republicans wanted to go for.
But look at how few votes are in here. I mean, we have 16 and 16. Like, it's hard for us to make a decision just because we only have the early voting in. There's expected to be tens of thousands more votes that we'll get kind of in that 10 o'clock hour.
And it's going to be much more favorable, as you're saying earlier, to the Democrats and Sharon Owens. But this gives us a good base at what we're looking at here. Because if they're going to spoil, they're going to want to vote for Tim Rudd and Alfonso Davis. They're not really going to have that big of an impact here on the early vote. Sharon Owens falling at a tie here with Tom Babylon. Again, like you said, 16 votes for each, but it shows a good pattern for us here. Sharon Owens would want to get a much bigger majority of these votes if she wanted to do well in the 7th Ward, much better than Ben Walsh did. But right now, looking good for Tom Babylon. He's currently tied over on the west side with Sharon Owens.
Now, if we're going to get ready to make a call in that Syracuse mayoral race, where are the places we're going to be looking to see if Sharon Owens is actually going to win tonight?
Well, right now, Sharon Owens is considered the favorite. Like we said earlier on in the broadcast, a Republican has not been the mayor of Syracuse since the 1990s. Democrats have had the edge on this. Independents, Ben Walsh won. You know, that's a different case scenario. But historically, Democrats have done very, very well in the city of Syracuse. Their strategy, Democrats' strategy in Onondaga County has historically always been to hit these wards, hit these areas of the city that are not really going to get out the vote. They're not going to get out usually. Their strategy has mainly depended on getting these people out, getting them to the polls in the dead heart of the city, the south side, the university, students. They want to get students out to vote that are only here for 4 years to get out and vote for the Democrats.
Drew Mediazik, thank you very much, sir. We now have a major race call to make in the state of New Jersey. Our Isabella Galan's home state can be projected now for Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. She has won that race. Now, this is the first time, maybe ever, that the state of New Jersey has voted for a governor of the same party 3 times in a row. We had 2 terms of Democrat Phil Murphy. We'll now have at least 1 term of Mikey Sherrill.
Yeah, the last time that this happened was 1961. So it does feel like
basically
forever.
Basically forever.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I feel like the fact that it was already called this early is a little bit shocking. Everybody was kind of pointing to it to be a lot tighter of a race, and there's still obviously all the votes aren't in yet, but she is leading by a good majority. And I think the reason why this is a little bit not confusing but just shocking is because New Jersey recently has been leaning a little bit more red, and especially with the presidential election in 2024, Donald Trump came within 6 points. So it's really, really interesting just to see that they already called this race.
Well, and Jack Ciattarelli came pretty close the last time around as well to Phil Murphy in 2021.
Yeah.
They were hoping that if they ran that campaign back again, that maybe he could do a little bit better this time. It seems like, though, whenever the party of the president is in power, they do a little worse in these races. We saw that in Virginia, and now we're seeing it in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he ran for governor back in 2021, lost by 2.8%. But that was his technically second time running. This was his third time running for governor. He ran again in 2017, but he lost in the primary. But the fact that it was his third time running, and usually we would expect it, like we've seen in trends, to switch over to the Republican Party, it's definitely very interesting.
Very good. Well, Bella, thank you very much for being here. We'll check back in with you throughout the night. We're going to head back out to the Treasury building where I believe we have outgoing Mayor Ben Walsh. I'm sorry.
Mayor Walsh, thank you.
We're not going to do that just yet. I actually spoke to Mayor Ben Walsh on Saturday at the Sharon Owens watch party. Let's take a look.
Walsh, thank you so much for your time. What are your thoughts in the closing days of this campaign as we approach election season?
Well, I'm thrilled that Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens is in a really strong position to be victorious on Tuesday. That will make me feel really good about the transition. So in the meantime, just keep my head down doing the work, and yes, home stretch on the campaign trail and in the administration.
A lot of the campaign, particularly Ms. Owens' three opponents, have been disparaging some of your record the past 8 years under your administration. What have you made of what's been said on the campaign trail so far?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Those guys are pretty disgruntled, but you know what? I really admire Deputy Mayor Owens. She has rose above and has just, she has a vision. She has ideas for how to move this city forward. People don't want to hear negativity and criticism. They want to hear positivity and a positive vision for the future. Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens has that, and that's why I think she's going to be successful on Tuesday.
Yeah, what are you going to be doing and thinking as you watch those results come in? Is there a sense of relief that washes over you that you're not on the ballot this time around?
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different feeling, but I'm sure I'm going to be anxious for Sharon. I plan to be there with her on Tuesday night, but again, I think we're all feeling really good about it, and there's no one else I would want to hand the baton to at the end of this year.
What have you told her about what it's like to watch those results come in, to accept that responsibility of being the mayor?
Yeah, it's heavy. There's a weight that from the moment you're victorious that sits on you and doesn't go away. And so I am looking forward to that weight coming off, but I've been trying to prepare her for feeling that and adjusting to it. But again, there's nobody more prepared. She's been by my side for 8 years, and I have no doubt that she will do great.
Before I let you go, it's the question of the hour. What's next for you?
Still figuring it out. I've got a few options on the table right now, having conversations, just not trying to rush it. I'm not going anywhere. Syracuse is home, so just trying to find a different way to do good, and I'll make sure everybody knows when I figure it out.
Yeah, Mayor Walsh, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you again to Mayor Walsh. We're going to head back out to Strata Mia, where we find our Maura Vaughn and Ben Bascuk with some updates on various races for county legislature happening tonight, guys.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Babylon Party here. Now we're covering the county legislator race for Onondaga County. So 17 seats up, but really only 6 that are contested, 3 of which we're watching tonight. Starting off, we're going to start with the 9th district on the north side. We quoted him earlier, Bonke Sakarori. He's the Republican running in this race, but people may be surprised when they go to the polls because there's not a Democrat on the party line.
That's right. We're going to have one independent, one family watch party. Excuse me, not family watch party. And we're also going to have Bonke Sakarori. He is running as a Republican, which typically in the 9th district has been a blue district. And so it's actually interesting because he is a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo. He went from Syracuse City School District. He graduated valedictorian from Fowler High School. And he just has a really interesting story. We'll talk to him more.
Yeah, we talked to him earlier, and he's very much trying to separate himself from the activity happening from the GOP on the federal level right now, not really commenting on that, emphasizing his impact there on the north side. He's knocked on over 3,100 doors over the past couple weeks here, so definitely running a huge campaign. He's out in the neighborhood. He's well known. He has a good shot at flipping that blue district red tonight. Moving on, we have the 8th district. Now, this is a district that the GOP gained 1 seat in when McMahon appointed Sean Fiato after Chris Ryan left for the state Senate for New York. Now we have the Ryan dynasty coming back again, political dynasty family in the area. But now we have Chad Ryan contesting Fiato for that race.
Chad Ryan's also been more going towards moderate policies. He's been advocating a lot as a moderate Republican, saying that he wants more of these moderate policies happening, not just towards the left or right, more in the middle.
Yeah, he's definitely moderating his stances. I mean, he's lived there for a while in that Tip Hill area. His family's known. He runs the family funeral home. He's a local face. This is a traditionally blue district. That's the way that we're seeing it go tonight for Democrats to hopefully, in their eyes, regain that seat.
Republicans have 12 seats and Democrats have 5. So if they were able to gain these seats, like the 9th district, the 8th district, the Republicans having the majority in the legislature, it could be flipped.
It comes down to the supermajority. So some votes require a 2/3 vote. If Republicans have that 2/3 vote, they can approve things like spending for bond purposes and enacting policies on the local level, even with that majority. We also have to factor in McMahon's split vote as county executive. But moving forward to the 5th district, we have Deb Cody. Now, she would be the incumbent, but she's not running in this race again. So we're left with a Democrat and a Republican.
David Carney is our Republican candidate, and he has had an interesting life. He has 2 children, and he has raised them alone. He is this is a more middle-class suburban area that David Carney is running his petition in.
Yeah, he has that endorsement, like we said, of Deb Cody, who was the Republican before him, but he is facing another candidate, which is Ellen Block. Now, she's very active in the nonprofit space, and her biggest criticism of the McMahon administration is that aquarium, $100 million that she thinks should be spent on after-school buildings and communities and investing back into the people that are here now. A big dichotomy we're seeing between Democrats and Republicans across Onondaga County is that Republicans are hoping to rely on the future workforces, development through property taxes of new people coming to the area through Micron, while Democrats are looking at how can we make it different than people who are here now.
You know, Babylon's really working on it, creating more housing development for people to come into Micron, that they're going to want to stay in Syracuse to be able to develop for those programs over the years. He said himself, he's like, these semiconductors won't be able to be built for 7 to 8 years. So we need to have people who want to stay in Syracuse in housing developments in nicer neighborhoods in Syracuse so that they're able to build up this technology and build up the population of Syracuse.
And there's a huge thing to be said about the workforce programs in the Syracuse City School District. Now, Sharon Owens, as deputy mayor, flaunted those accomplishments, each school kind of having its own niche and specialty, and a lot of Democrats involving and encouraging involvement in the trades. We saw that new STEAM school go up, but especially ushering Micron in. They want to get ready the workforce that's here now, while the Republicans are kind of focusing on the workforce of the future. That's our check-in for now, so we'll toss it back to you guys in studio.
Ben and Maura, thank you so much. We'll be right back with some more analysis of those big governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey. Stay with us.
If anybody within the sound of my voice has not voted yet, get out there, get it done.
The future of our state hangs in the balance.
We're not just voting for the next 4 years. We're voting for our future. We're voting for our children and our children's children.
We are going to vote for Virginia. But we know that when we do that, the rest of the country will watch to see what it is that we choose.
Welcome back to Citrus TV Election Night 2025. Before we get to those governor's races we just saw, we do have a big projection to make tonight. Citrus TV can now project that Zohran Mamdani is the winner of the New York City mayoral election. This is quite an upset win compared to where he was just a few months ago. He is now going to be the mayor-elect in the largest city in America, capping off an unlikely campaign for the self-described Democratic Socialist. He saw millions of dollars spent against him, mainly by his main rival, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who challenged Mamdani first in a crowded Democratic primary field and again in the general election on an independent line. He's now lost both times, along with perennial Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa. Mamdani made bold promises on the campaign trail, including fast and free buses, universal child care, a rent freeze for the city's rent-stabilized tenants, and a pilot program of government-run grocery stores in each of the 5 boroughs. He'll now have the opportunity to deliver on those agenda items as the city's 111th mayor. The city's first Muslim mayor will be sworn in on New Year's Day, right after that ball drops in Times Square. Pretty big news tonight, Roman, that Mamdani is now the mayor-elect in New York City.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the races that has had its eye on for the entire time. Even when it was just Adams versus, a possible Republican candidate. When Mamdani came into this race, he was polling so low, it was really, really hard to see him win. And now here he is as the projected winner.
And I feel like I went down to visit New Jersey a couple of weeks ago. All the TV ads were New Jersey governor and then New York City mayor, and then New Jersey governor and then New York City mayor. So much money has been spent in this race.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of money has just been spent on these campaigns regardless, but especially for the New Jersey area who doesn't really have a big news presence or a lot of media landscape. Most of it does come from New York. So I feel like the New Jersey race, while definitely still big in the larger scheme of things, definitely had to fight against that New York City campaign spot, on TV at least, for who was going to be mayor. It was really, really big, and that's why I think social media came into play a lot too for both the New York race and for the New Jersey race, because that was the best way that they were going to reach as many people as possible.
Let's talk about those governor's races that you guys are actually here to talk about tonight, because there was actually, a concern that one win or another, or one loss or another, could be a vindication for either wing of the Democratic Party, right? Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill represent the more moderate wing of the Democratic Party. Mamdani represents a more progressive wing. And it seems like all across the board, Democrats tonight can claim this as a victory. What does that mean for President Trump and what voters think of his first term, and also what comes next for governance first in the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Yeah, well, in Virginia, this is a switch. Glenn Youngkin, governors in Virginia are term limited to 4 years. So come the end of this, Glenn Youngkin, a Republican, has seen a lot of flips in these counties, specifically looking at Stafford County. That was a county that saw a flip and a split ticket when we talk about the Attorney General's race as well, because that race for Spanberger was called. That race for the Attorney General has not yet been called. It's very, very close. And that, of course, takes more than just party politics into effect.
We'll talk a little bit about the controversy out of that race, because there was kind of a late-breaking October surprise with Jay Jones, the Democrat, running.
Absolutely. Yeah, so those text messages came out, very graphic, threatening against Republican candidates, and this comes at a time of really increased political violence, with everybody from activists like Charlie Kirk to people like lawmakers in Minnesota having threats against their lives and having fatal shootings against them. So this was really key, and a large majority of Virginians said that this should be disqualifying for a potential AG run. Now, this did open the door for the opponent, Jason Miyares, to actually gain some roles in that same Stafford County where we talked about that split ticket. He's running at around 50.4% of the electorate right now.
It's pretty rare for folks to split their ticket right now. It seems like Jay Jones is ahead by a little less than 100,000 votes in that race, but we'll keep an eye on it. We're at about 80% of the votes in there. I want to pivot, though, to New Jersey, where we just had that race call of Mikey Sherrill. What does that mean for the state of New Jersey going forward?
Well, yeah, just talking a little bit about Mikey Sherrill first. She's a U.S. Naval Academy graduate, Navy helicopter pilot. That was huge in her campaign.
She stressed
a lot of her ads centered around that, talking about her active duty in the U.S. Navy and just trying to appeal to everybody in New Jersey by talking about how she's a mother, how she has 4 kids, and she is in her 4th term in Congress right now, and has been since 2018. And when she first ran back in 2018, it was her first ever time running for office. And now seeing her as the 2nd female governor of New Jersey, it's a big win for the Democratic Party for sure.
Both of these candidates stress their bipartisan credentials in Congress. Talk a little bit about how the state has moved over time. You mentioned earlier, Donald Trump only lost in New Jersey by 6 points, which is pretty remarkable given that New Jersey is pretty historically a blue state.
Yeah, especially being attached to New York City and being very, very close. It's very well been seen as a blue state for pretty much ever. So seeing it definitely in the last presidential election start to swing a little bit more purple was definitely very shocking for a lot of New Jerseyans. But I think this race was expected to be a little bit closer, to be completely honest. But it's interesting to see between both candidates, they both talked about pretty much the exact same issues. Their biggest one was about making New Jersey affordable. It is so expensive to live in New Jersey. Coming from somebody who lives in New Jersey, I totally understand. And they both went kind of from different points of view, but trying to attack the same issues. And for Mikey Sherrill specifically, she said number one thing that she wanted to do was declare a state of emergency on utility costs. It was one of the big things in her campaign that she talked about as well, to end rate hikes and drive down bills for Americans so that younger people could stay in New Jersey so that people weren't leaving and that people felt comfortable buying a house and being able to raise their families in there. And that was definitely something Chitterelli touched on as well, being born and raised in New Jersey. But it seems that just the way that Mikey Sherrill was able to campaign reached more of the voters in New Jersey.
Affordability, a big issue for Mikey Sherrill, for Abigail Spanberger, and of course for Zohran Mamdani, who pivoted every answer on every issue back to affordability. Are we going to be seeing messages about affordability when we come next year for the midterm elections for Congress and governor all over the country, including governor right here in New York?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we're 100% going to be seeing because, Trump ran on these promises of affordability, and whether we've been seeing that is debatable across the country, but that's going to be expressed in the midterms, and that's where we're going to see. One thing that Spanberger has agreed with Winsome Earl-Sears on, one of their few meeting points, is on reducing unnecessary taxes like the car tax to make things just more affordable, reduce things that most of Virginia and in a lot of places that also have these car taxes that most people believe just are not necessary. Going back to utilities too, this ties into the environment, another really important thing that people are going to be voting on. Yeah. Abigail Spanberger and Winsome Earl-Sears both agree that we do need to move towards green energy. Abigail Spanberger says that cannot be offshore energy. Winsome Earl-Sears says that cannot be Chinese-made energy, things like solar panels and wind farms coming from China.
Energy also a big issue in the New Jersey governor's race because the cost of energy there is very expensive. Governor-elect Sherrill has promised to declare a state of emergency on utility costs. Talk about how that would actually work in practice when she's sworn in.
Yeah, so basically she wants to invest into clean energy like solar. That's one of her big things that she's running on, to improve housing affordability and then increasing new home construction so that it can meet the needs of all types of residents. New Jersey is a very diverse state. We have really, really packed cities, but then you also have some more rural areas as well. So definitely trying to target as many people as possible with this to just create a really good environment for lowering those costs and driving down those bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for being here on such a very busy night of results that we've seen so far. I really appreciate all of your breakdowns. We're watching now as more results continue to come in races all across the country. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be right back with more of Citrus TV Election Night 2025. Stay with us.
Welcome to Live from Studio B.
Welcome to another episode of Culturally and Technically Legal.
Previously on Survivor.
Welcome back to the Esports Juice Box, where we break down this week's esports news into digestible sizes for easy consumption.
Welcome back into Citrus TV Election Night 2025. I'm going to give you a recap quick of the races that we've called so far. They've all gone for Democrats in the big ticket races, including the governor's race in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the governor's race in the state of New Jersey, as well as the mayor's race in New York City, where Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist, has won there. We're going to take a look at the map for that race in a moment, but I want to get you some other race calls that are happening across the country. You're seeing those cities big and small across America coming up along the bottom of your screen. In the city of Atlanta, we can project that the Democrat there has won that race. The incumbent mayor, Mayor Dickens, has won that race there. In Miami, the Democrat Higgins has won that race there in Miami. In Cleveland, the incumbent mayor is leading right now with about 76% of the vote, 3/4 of the vote in there right now. We also have a projection in the city of Cincinnati, where the candidate is Purival, who has won there so far. So those are a couple of the mayor's races happening across the country. But of course, the big one that we've been watching very closely tonight is the race for mayor in New York City. Zohran Mamdani surprised a lot of people by winning in the Democratic primary in June, excuse me. And joining me now is the Lieutenant Governor of New York, Antonio Delgado, who is launching a primary challenge of his own, not against former Governor Cuomo, as Zohran Mamdani did, but against the current governor, Kathy Hochul, who he served with as Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Delgado, thank you so much for being with me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks for having me.
So,
big night.
The race was just called for Zohran Mamdani. What's your reaction?
It's a great outcome for what I think people have long desired, which is change. You know, people want new voices. They want new energy. They want people who are willing to have bold ideas, transformational ideas, who aren't willing to just accept things as they are. People are hurting. People talk about affordability, but at the end of the day, the question boils down to, are you willing to address economic inequality? And Zohran's victory, I think, speaks to the fact that there's a big appetite for those who are genuinely committed, you know, to taking on the status quo, a status quo that has left a lot of New Yorkers behind. I would argue not just in the city, but everywhere across the state.
Yeah. Lieutenant Governor, you endorsed Zohran Mamdani, I believe, the day after he won in his primary. Governor Hochul, meanwhile, waited a couple weeks to do that. What do you think that says about where she's at in her politics, and how are you hoping to draw that contrast out in your primary, which is coming up in just a few short months?
I think it speaks volumes, you know, when you sit around and you wait 3 months to make a very politically calculated, expedient decision. It reveals that the choice fundamentally wasn't genuine, and it wasn't about actually understanding the moment. You know, the moment was we had a nominee who emerged from the primary as a Democrat, who won without controversy, who won easily, and did so in a fashion that brought in new voters, that brought in young voters. And if you really are serious about building a coalition across this state that not only can beat back the cruelty of Trump, but also fight for a vision forward that's going to lift up all folks across this state, then it should have been a no-brainer from the beginning. As you noted, I endorsed immediately because he was a Democratic nominee, and it I think speaks volumes to the fact that Governor Hochul felt the need to wait 3 months before doing so.
Governor Hochul endorsed Zohran Mamdani, the man, did not necessarily endorse all of his ideas or plans to pay for those ideas. You have, on the other hand, said that you would support a tax on the wealthy in order to pay for some of these proposals that Assemblyman Mamdani, now Mayor-elect Mamdani, has made. Talk a little bit about that difference between you and Governor Hochul, and why do you think that she's been unwilling to support a tax increase on the wealthy?
Well, I think it's a big difference between myself and the governor for sure. And certainly for those who are trying to figure out what change looks like, not just in the city, but certainly across the state, you need to have a partner at Albany who's willing to work with the mayor-elect. And the mayor-elect in Mamdani has made it clear that, and I agree, that we're going to have to make sure that we share the wealth, that we raise revenue on ultra wealthy, that we raise revenue on our most profitable corporations, and leverage those resources to lift up all folks, whether that's in the housing space, whether that's in the healthcare space, transportation, but doing everything we can to make sure that everybody is accounted for and nobody's left behind. Unfortunately, the governor has repeatedly repeatedly said time and time again that she is not going to raise taxes on anybody. And the fact of the matter is, that is a position that is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable if you are trying to actually bring about change. It's not sustainable if you're trying to account for growing economic inequality, where 2 out of 5 households across the state of New York can't afford basic necessities, and 1 out of 4 New Yorkers. It's not sustainable if 1 out of 5 kids are growing up poor in our state, and half those kids are in deep poverty. So at the end of the day, something's got to give. And as the governor said, she has somehow fallen victim to this idea that if you tax those who have significant means, they will move to Palm Beach. But the truth of the matter is, the vast majority of folks who are leaving the state of New York make between $30,000 and $60,000 a year.
So then why are they leaving then? What is the motivating factor?
Because they can't afford it.
Then how do you fix that as governor?
You invest and you build affordable housing, and not just give tax credits away to developers and hope that they build affordable housing. You actually do the work of making it clear that we're going to put money in the pockets of people, whether that's a statewide rental assistance program, whether that's a statewide first-time homeowner grant program. You increase minimum wage, as I proposed. You make sure that we hold insurance companies accountable and fight for a single-payer healthcare system. These are the kind of things that I think we should be moving towards right now here in New York, and we're just not willing to do it with the current governor in the office.
Yeah. One last question for you before I let you go, and thank you again for joining us live on Election Night tonight on Citrus TV. The mayor-elect, Mamdani, did not answer if he would endorse Governor Hochul for re-election on the debate stage this time around. Have you had conversations with him, and are you seeking his endorsement?
We've talked and certainly look forward to having more discussions with him. What I'll say is that, I think we're in a position to have an opportunity here to really usher in meaningful change across the state. And I look forward to having more conversations with him about the ways in which that can happen. I certainly have to continue to run my race, continue to do everything I can to make it clear that we have the ability here to really connect with folks all across this state. And I will tell you that we are doing just that, whether it's in Buffalo, whether it's the North Country, Rochester, Syracuse, and certainly down in the city on Long Island, all the boroughs, we are making real connections with people. And there's a real hunger to take what has happened now in New York City all across the state. And we're not going to be able to do that with politics as usual. We're not going to be able to do that with the same actors who've been around for far too long, doing the same things over and over again, leading to the same flawed outcomes.
Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado running as a Democrat for governor against Governor Hochul in the June primary. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us on election night and give your first reaction to the election of Zohran Mamdani. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to head back now to Syracuse, where we find our Anjana Dasam live at the Treasury Building, where Sharon Owens' campaign is watching some pretty great results for them coming in so far, Anjana.
In separate interviews, Democrat Sharon Owens emphasized housing and neighborhood development, while Republican Thomas Babylon focused on public safety and budgeting, giving insight into where each candidate may focus if elected.
Affordable housing is the issue. We have to address crime.
Owens says diversifying development could help close the city's affordability gap.
We're creating what I call eclectic housing options, housing that is there for those of us who earn that $20,000 or less, who may want to rent or buy a home.
A new policy requires police officers to live within the city limits 6 months after graduation and to stay for the next 5 years. But Babylon says staffing comes first.
We're getting rid of this residency requirement. We've always had a residency requirement for every employee of the city, but as the police, it's always been interpreted pursuant to the public officers law, which we'll continue to do when I'm mayor.
Babylon also says that he'll stop infrastructure projects from wasting taxpayer dollars.
We spent $10 million on this payroll modernization project when really nothing had to be spent at all. We can save money and also not raise taxes.
Meanwhile, Owens shares flexible options to keep neighborhoods mixed and affordable.
We're going to do townhomes, build townhomes up there, start with low income, but begin to build mixed income. The strongest neighborhoods in Syracuse are eclectic mix.
These are just a few of many policies voters can weigh before heading to the polls.
But if you're here for a while, you'll talk to people and they'll say, oh, you live in Syracuse, why do you live there? The crime, the taxes, it's horrible, and I'd never live there. I don't want people to talk like that. I want people to say, I want to live in Syracuse. Man, what a great city. It's affordable, you've got all these amenities, and it's safe. You know, that's my dream for.
I will say for being mayor the same thing I said for being deputy mayor. There were people who told me that they'll say, what do I call you? And I say, Sharon. It's like, you need to understand that that title is not just for you. Just like people who get doctorate degrees, they'll say, no, you don't have to call me doctor. I say, oh, yes, I do. You earned that doctorate degree. And that degree is not just about you, it is about the collective accomplishments of us all. So being deputy mayor, I've always said, it is not just about people seeing me in that position, but it's about them seeing themselves in that position.
I'm joined now by the campaign manager for Sharon Owens. You've made it to the finish line. The race has been run. It's election night now. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about what's going through your head as you've seen the results start to come in?
We feel very confident that this could be a decisive victory for Deputy Mayor Owens. Proud SU alum. The early voting numbers are just showing what we knew was all along. But you know, we can't wait for the race to be called and for Sharon to come down. It's a little warm in here, but there's got to be 400 people here to witness history. It's exciting.
And so can you tell me a little bit about the journey that you've been on throughout this campaign since Sharon Owens announced last September? What's the reaction that you've seen from people in the community and just the journey that you've been on?
She wasn't that well known. She wasn't a front forward person. She was behind Ben Walsh as his deputy there, and people got to really meet her. Their first impression was this year, and I think she made a terrific impression, especially when those bum candidates were throwing bombs at her, and she had grace. She had grace. I wanted to go low, and she insisted on going high, and that just speaks to who she is as a person. She's going to be a gracious winner and a terrific mayor for the city.
And throughout the campaign, Sharon Owens' slogan has been maximize the moment. Do you feel that you've made the most of this campaign? And if she does win, what are the next steps to continue to maximize that momentum?
Maximize the moment means this moment for the city of Syracuse is in. We maximize this campaign. This will be one of the best, results that you'll see in modern history, and it speaks to her. I mean, we ran a wonderful campaign, but we had an even better candidate. So it's history, man. I'm excited.
Joe, thank you so much for your time. That's all we have. We'll continue to keep you updated through Sharon Owens' Watch Party, but for now, we'll take a quick break.
Thanks so much, Jackson. We'll be right back.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stem is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
At the map, Peter, how did Zohran Mamdani win? Where did he win?
He won mostly in Brooklyn. He has 100,000 more votes than Andrew Cuomo does in Brooklyn. That's where most of his donor base was. That's where a lot of the Gen Z outreach was. A lot of people knocking on doors there. Yeah. A huge
Let's take a closer look at that map, by the way, if we can get it up full screen. That way we can see exactly those numbers that you're talking about. 57.3% for Zohran Mamdani compared to just 36.9% for Andrew Cuomo. Brooklyn coming out strong for him tonight. Looks like things are a little closer in Queens, about 5% of a gap between them there. But
that is the home district of Andrew Cuomo, so he can't really lose that one.
No, that's you have to win where you're from fundamentally, even though.
And that's where Mamdani is. He's from Astoria, Queens, too.
See, so it's a battle of the Queens brothers, as it seems to be. Bronx as well. We're seeing 51-43 there. Mamdani running it up in every borough except for Staten Island.
Andrew Cuomo is shockingly winning.
But also Mamdani beating Curtis Sliwa in Staten Island?
That's surprising.
You understand, Staten Island voted for Trump. It's the only borough that voted for Trump all 3 elections, 2016, 2020, and 2024. So the fact that Curtis Lee was not doing well there is actually a testament to that late-stage Andrew Cuomo Trump endorsement. Obviously, those voters out in Staten Island got the message from President Trump and maybe from the many weeks and months of campaigning that Curtis Lee was not a viable option for them.
Siwa also ran back in 2021, so maybe they don't want to really vote for him again.
I like how 320 people in Staten Island voted for Eric Adams, even though he dropped out of the race about a month ago.
They knew.
They're just hangers-on. They really like the fact that Staten Island is the Istanbul of America, or what's the expression that he would do with each of the world capitals?
Maybe they thought there was a Cuomo Adams ticket.
Exactly.
And they thought it would count to Cuomo. But this breaks a huge glass ceiling for Mamdani. He's the first Muslim mayor. There's 1 million Muslims all across the 5 boroughs.
Yes, and we will see exactly what happens when Zohran Mamdani is sworn in on New Year's Day in Times Square. Peter Berry, thank you so much. Well, Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani garnered a strong social media presence as he entered the mayoral race. Maddie Ritter is here to give us insight into how Mamdani leveraged that social media campaign to help him win tonight and turn out voters at historic levels. Maddie, good evening.
Yeah, Luke. So Zohran Mamdani, he was garnering a huge presence on social media. He was active on Twitter, on Instagram. He kind of had this call to action style, more relaxed sort of videos on his social media. He, he did take social media to call out his other opponent here, Andrew Cuomo. When Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo, he was saying, I know how hard you worked for this, kind of coming at him there.
Yeah. Bit of a troll.
Yeah, it's kind of comical a little bit. Cuomo was made a bold public move actually at the debate, saying that Mamdani had a stronger social media presence than he did.
Well, that was what he was asked in the debate, because obviously Cuomo ran in the Democratic primary and lost by 13 points. He's losing again tonight by about 9 points overall so far, with about 88% of the vote in. Doing a little bit better with the general electorate than he did with Democrats, but he was asked during the general election debate, hey, why are you running again, and what have you learned from your loss last time around? And the only thing that he mentioned was that Zohran Mamdani had better social media than he did. So what do you think that the contrast is? How important is social media, particularly to voters of our age bracket, in comparison to the issues that Zohran Mamdani talked about on the trail?
I mean, definitely. He's talking about affordability. He wants to make, living in New York City more affordable, which is something anyone could want. But, with Gen Z and the job market and everything happening in our current climate here, it's important that he gets Gen Z voters connected to him, and I think he did a great job of that. Upping his presence on websites like X, like Instagram, like TikTok. There's a ton of TikTok trends with Mamdani. Yeah, in them, he was making a ton of just man-on-the-street style videos. He was at a kebab restaurant, trying the food, talking to the owners.
He was talking about halalflation, which I think is an issue that's very important to voters. He's 34 years old as well. He was the second youngest mayor in New York City's history. And I think there is a certain level of familiarity that folks at that age range have with social media that you were not going to get from someone Andrew Cuomo's age, which I have to look up in a moment, but I don't think it is anywhere near 34, certainly not in the target demo for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. He's 67, by the way. So almost up, more than double? Almost double.
Close to it.
I can't do math. It's this late at night. But is there anything else we should know about Zohran Mamdani's social media presence and how other Democrats maybe have been playing along and kind of copying what he's been doing?
Well, I definitely think, the guy is everywhere. He was late Thursday night, past midnight, he was at the taxi line at LaGuardia. And
he was at the clubs this weekend?
He was at the clubs. He's been everywhere. He was at the Knicks game, which in contrast to Cuomo, he was actually sitting in the nosebleeds at the Knicks game while Cuomo was sitting courtside with former Mayor Eric Adams. So that kind of sparked a little controversy there. But I don't know. I think that it's important that he's just out and about, and I think it's great that he's getting the entire city involved. He's walking the entire city, or the entire length of Manhattan. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just super. He's getting super involved in the city.
Interactive. They had a scavenger hunt at one point over the summer. I think it's trying to bring a sense of joy and lightheartedness back to politics when right now it seems not very joyful from time to time reading the headlines. So Maddie Ritter, I really appreciate the joy that you've brought me here in studio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us to break down all of these important races. Speaking of important races, we're going to head back out to our magic map where we find our Drew Matiasek. He's going to be looking at some of the county legislator races that are happening right now.
Yes, right now we don't have any sort of update on the Syracuse mayoral race. We're still paused on early votes and mail-in votes. No election day votes are in right now according to the Onondaga County Board of Elections, but we do have some important updates on extremely local races, specifically in the county legislature. Now, some of my Democratic insiders, my sources, have told me that they're pretty confident that they can at least tighten the gap in the county legislature tonight. Right now, if we look at the 5th District, Ellen Block beating David Carney, the Republican. They are not holding out a lot of hope on this one. This one they don't think that they can pick up. If we go to the 8th District, Chad Ryan, the cousin of State Senator Chris Ryan, is trying to win back his old seat after a Republican was appointed to it after Chris won his Senate election last year. This could be a key flip for the Democrats. If we go into the 9th District, Nicole Watts from the Working Families Party. This is one of the most interesting ones. If you want to watch a county legislature race at home, look at District 9.
If you just want to have fun and watch a county legislature race at home like we do. Yeah, no, this is interesting because it's a three-way race. So the Democrat incumbent county legislator was thrown off the ballot for submitting fraudulent petitions, and the judge said that no other Democrats can get into the race. So what ended up happening was this Republican, Banki Sekarore, picked up a lot of steam, was doing a lot of door knocking, was the only candidate out there, and then two Democrats who couldn't say they were Democrats, Nicole Watts and Kenyatta Callaway, entered the race as well. Kenyatta Callaway did so with the county Democratic Party's endorsement. Nicole Watts did so without, and yet it does not seem to have hurt her. Pretty big blow for the Onondaga County Democratic Party to have their candidate perform, 11 times worse.
Only 31 votes. And that's right after Pat Hogan. They endorsed Pat Hogan. The Onondaga County Democrats have had a very, very bad reputation in Central New York recently because all the candidates that they seem to endorse, all the Democrats,
Pat Hogan
fly away from him.
Syracuse mayoral primary,
yes,
got blown out by Sharon Owens. Said to me today, by the way, that he was voting for himself. He wrote himself in on the Syracuse mayoral ballot because he wouldn't support Sharon Owens. It's that type of decision-making by the Onondaga County Democratic Party that should really encourage some soul searching. We'll put it that way, and we're going to head to break right now. We'll be right back with more election results right here on Citrus TV. Stay with us.
Do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where did cats go on vacation? New York.
Welcome to my house. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The walls were closing in. Clearly a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It could help you find a little more breathing room.
Welcome back to Election Night on Citrus TV. I'm Luke Radel. If we go back just 1 year in time, many Republicans credit President Trump's successful campaign in part due to a high number of people our age heading to the polls. But research shows that it may be otherwise. Our Jude Bazerman is here in studio to discuss. Jude?
Luke, thanks so much. Pleasure to be on. The research and polls from organizations all around point to one trend, that young people like you and I have less faith in democracy and the voting process. Let's take an Associated Press poll from back in August. In their research, the AP found 1/3 of people under the age of 30 are disengaged with politics. For Americans who are 60 years or older, that number is half of that 33% mark. I was able to sit down with both the Democratic and Republican elections commissioners from Onondaga County to try and understand why young voters seem to turn out less than older folks, and if their personal experiences back up the data.
I think that particularly with the Trump campaign last year, I think that the Trump campaign and organizations like Turning Point USA have done a good job in mobilizing the college-age voter, particularly college-age voters that tend to skew more conservative. So I don't know, again, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
Young people have always participated at a lower rate. Every generation. My generation when we were young, the generation before me when we were young, they were young, so on and so forth. That being said, what we are seeing in the younger generation is the shedding of the two-party label.
Now, to add on to Zarni's point about young voters shedding the no-party label, not joining political parties, and election denialism are two of the main points I took away from these conversations. Ryan and Zarni both also stressed how young voters in particular don't head to the polls for local elections, such as many we're seeing across New York and the country right now.
So what have we been seeing in terms of local election interest from younger voters? Are they more or less likely to turn out than those older voters?
Definitely less likely, Luke. And this, whether you compare it to older voters or whether you compare it to younger voters heading out for a national election like we had last year with the presidential race, it's much, much less. And that's something that maybe will be changing with social media like Maddie just talked about. So it'll be very interesting to see, as we saw with Zohran Mamdani's campaign, generated a lot of interest within young voters. So I think that aspect of younger voters not coming out for these local elections could change pretty soon.
Yeah. What specifically about Mamdani's message, beyond just the medium that he was on, social media, what was it about his message that spoke so deeply to young voters in the conversations that they've had?
Well, I think it was the fact that he was able to connect, right? Not just through social media, but a lot of what he was saying about halal inflation, a lot of the terms that he was using, it's so much easier for a younger voter like myself, or for anyone else at our age, to connect with someone who is at least close to our age. A lot of these politicians, a lot of complaints that I've heard talking with younger voters around campus is that they're so old. And again, we're seeing some trends of politicians heading in a younger direction.
And obviously, affordability was the overarching theme of his campaign, but the biggest issue that he stressed on affordability was housing. He promised to freeze the rent on rent-stabilized tenants and encourage other tenants and other landlords to do the same. It's very fitting for a generation that really doesn't know what it's like to own their own home, particularly in a city as expensive as New York or a state as expensive as New Jersey, where you are from.
Right.
You've been watching those results tonight. Thank you very much, Jude, for being here. Really appreciate all of your analysis. Now, Governor Kathy Hochul came to Syracuse on Saturday to campaign for Democrat Sharon Owens. Here's our exchange on how she got involved in politics at a young age here at SU.
Governor, I'm a senior at Syracuse University. My name is Luke. It's very good to have you here in Syracuse. The deputy mayor has spoken about her experience at SU, inspiring her to get involved in public service. How did your experience at SU shape your career?
Well, when I was a sophomore, I ran for student representative of Haven Hall, and I became a member of a larger body of students from all over. I also ultimately became vice president of student government and became our student voice on the board of trustees. So that thrust me as a young student back in a different pair of jeans, but with my best sneakers on, going into the corridors of power and seeing significant community leaders who were leading the university, but also major corporations. And I fought some good fights. So I boycotted the bookstore because the prices were too high, and we had a whole list of demands that they wouldn't do, so we shut them down for about 6 months. I didn't get a lot of class time in. I took a lot of incompletes for a semester. I don't encourage it for everybody, but I had very understanding professors who knew that I was a student activist willing to stand out there and march in the cold and the rain in support of something I believed in, and we actually won that battle as well. So that's just a few off the top of my head. There are a lot of them.
I will tell you the bookstore prices are still too high. So.
All right, you know what to do. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Our thanks to Governor Hochul for her time. We had on Governor Kathy Hochul and Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado. We did invite Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who is expected to launch her campaign for governor in the next week or so. She was not available to join us this evening. We'll be right back after a quick break. Stay with us.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Go, okay, quick. Oh, yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. So wet.
Welcome to my house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly, a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
Welcome back to Election Night here on Citrus TV, coming to you from the campus of Syracuse University. Let's check in with our Anjana Dasam live at the Treasury Building with Sharon Owens' campaign. Anjana, what are you hearing from the folks there? Are they confident with these early voting numbers that we have so far and what we're expecting to get moments away? Thank you very much. Party's still going there, we can see. I want to get in some breaking news that we just got. President Trump has reacted to the results that we have been seeing tonight. He says, quote, in all caps, Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters. I want to show you that here on Truth Social, brand new from the President of the United States. His reaction there, as you can see, in all caps, talking about why he believes Republicans lost tonight. He did not endorse Winsome Earl Sears. He did not endorse Winsome Earl Sears in that race for Virginia governor. He did endorse Jack Ciattarelli, did live tele-rallies for both of them the other day. We're going to head over to Drew Matiasek at our Magic Map, who will have more results on Onondaga County. Drew?
Thanks, Luke. Now, we don't really have that much going on over in Syracuse right now. Only one district has come through in Syracuse. Sharon Owens standing pretty strong with about 75% of the vote. I do want to take the viewers over to a race in Onondaga County that I think is a pretty big upset right now. As a Cicero native, a very, very, very Republican town right now. Look at this.
Go North Stars, first and foremost.
20 of 26 districts reporting the Democrat Robert Santucci winning with almost 52% of
What's
the vote
our day
right
of
now.
vote in right now? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Michael Aragano, now this is a guy who last year was accused by his former secretary about human rights violations. There was a civil suit against the city of, or the town of Cicero against Michael Aragano. He had a primary challenge against Ari Lieberman. He won against Mr. Lieberman back in June by about 10%. The Republicans really put their support behind him in the primary. He won by about 20% back in 2021, and right now he's on the cusp of losing if Santucci can pull off the rest of the Cicero districts.
About 140 votes split between them right now. Where are those outstanding votes that we're seeing in Cicero? What are some of the districts we're looking at here?
Well, right now Santucci has won a lot of these districts down in North Syracuse, which, if you look at the 2021 map, not a single district went to the Democrat in that race. A lot of them are up north here by Brewerton, or that one's fully in. Both of these are fully in. Right around here on the lake, this is the area where we're waiting on about those 6 districts. Right now, Santucci is winning those with the early vote by around 3 votes each, really here up by Lakeshore Road on the border of Constantia and Oswego County. And even if we go into the council race, that has even bled over into that a little bit. The Democrat Beth Kramer only 2 points behind. It is a Republican stronghold on both the town supervisor race and the council. There's 4 councilors that are Republicans right now. Michael Maurizio and John Karp were primaried and beaten by Jamie Party and Chris Daniel after they tried to launch a primary challenge against Aragano after the allegations.
I want to peel back a couple layers here and take folks behind the scenes of the numbers that we're looking at right now, because we did expect in the Syracuse mayoral race, which I'll have you pull up now, the Syracuse mayoral race we were expecting to have in around the 10 o'clock hour, but we were warned by the folks at the Onondaga County Board of Elections that Syracuse is the city that takes the longest to report, which is kind of counterintuitive. Their headquarters for the OCBOE is in the city of Syracuse, so shouldn't it be easy for them to get the results there? Well, it turns out because there are fewer votes to be counted in the surrounding towns, that's why we're getting more results in from Cicero, from those county legislature districts around the area. So Drew Matiasek, thank you very much. We'll keep an eye on that Syracuse mayoral race. As we near the last 5 minutes here of our election special, we're joined once again by our all-star analysts, Roman Verna and Bella Galan. Guys, we're going to turn nationally now to some of the races that we've been seeing across the country, feeling like a bit of a blue wave, a Democratic sweep happening tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ones I'm looking at here right now as far as governors go, Virginia and New Jersey, both blue. That's huge. The Democrats need this, and they need it in this area too. And then you look at New York City too, Mamdani. This was not exactly unexpected after you look at the primary and the polls, but to see all these Democrats have wins is really huge, and it indicates a new move for the Democrats against the Republicans.
And we are able to make an additional projection right now. Sean Ryan, the state senator out in Buffalo, has won the race for mayor there in Buffalo, taking over after 5-term mayor Byron Brown stepped away to run, and this is true, a horse racing business. Then Christopher Scanlon stepped in as acting mayor. He was the head of the Buffalo Common Council. And then after that, he ran in the primary against Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan beat him in that primary and will now be elected the next mayor of Buffalo. So that is a race that we've been following. I've been following personally because I was born in Buffalo. My dad's from Buffalo. My grandparents are hopefully watching from Buffalo. Hi, guys. So Bella, talk a little bit about this national wave that we've been seeing, not just in Buffalo, but of Democrats winning across the board here.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting. I know I keep going back to the 2024 presidential election, but again, just speaking from the experience of like New Jersey, where a lot of these states were leading a little bit more red or even like starting to turn a little purple, it's interesting to see now how many people also just came out to vote. And I think Virginia has about 90% of the votes already in, and New Jersey about 85% of the votes, but they have over, I think, 1.7 million people per state that are voting in these elections. So I think it's really, really a movement that we're starting to see of a lot of young people going to the polls, which then also relates into the New York City mayoral races. We're seeing a lot of those young people. Maybe the 2024 presidential election was kind of a wake-up call, being like, if you're not happy with how things are going, young people start to get in and vote. And I think that's why we're starting to see a lot more Democratic wave going through.
Yeah. We're going to pull our whole team in here now as we make a pretty major projection. We just got the first results in from day of voting, and it's enough in some of those very important districts, those swing districts across Syracuse, those wards, to make a pretty major projection. Tonight, we can project at CitrusTV that the next mayor of Syracuse will be Sharon Owens. The Democrat deputy mayor will be taking over for incumbent independent mayor Ben Walsh. She has won now with the day of voting coming in as we speak in some of those swing areas that Tom Babylon absolutely needed to win over in the 7th ward that you were talking about earlier tonight. He hasn't done it.
No, and again, Republicans really did think it was a stretch. A Republican has not won the mayor's election in Syracuse in decades, and they were really trying to stretch on these outer wards. Really, it all comes down to, can Democrats get that turnout in the heart of the city where voters typically, it's tough to get them out, and the answer is yes, they did tonight with that Sharon Owens victory.
Peter, what have we seen and what have we learned out in New York City tonight? Final 30 seconds.
I think that a lot of voters will turn out, especially if there's a Gen Z voters with social media outreach. Social media is such an important tool in just any election.
Yeah, Peter Berry, thank you very much. Thank you to our entire team here, for everyone in our control room, handling the reins, particularly our executive producer, Emma Poper, our senior producer, Roman Verna, incoming news director, congratulations to you. And thanks to you, to all of you, for watching us tonight. Change is a natural part of life, and elections are one of the best ways to make change. They're nonviolent, they're scheduled, and at the end of the night, you have a bunch of numbers to work at, which is pretty nice. So, thank you for joining us. On behalf of all of us at Citrus TV, I'm Luke Radel. Good night and go Orange.